on my way back to the city again. Another cold day. Not incredibly a lot colder, just a bit windier, so that makes it feel a lot colder. That wind chill factor, which is not really temperature, but it feels like it's colder. Anyway, hello again, Steve here with another little episode of this online coffee chat thing. Today I had an idea of talking about the idea of freedom in reference to free enterprise and free markets. Well, there's a lot of misconceptions about, which all leads back to the concept of dirty capitalist, right? I mean, free enterprise and free markets to me are just our inherent nature to want to be able to interact with whomever we want to interact with, right? Like if I want to say hello to you or you want to say hello to me and it's fine, or we want to go exchange your lawnmower for my $100 and we both agree to it, there's nobody coming in the middle and affecting us, right? And we all do this to a very great extent. Most of us, it is what we call employment in terms of the free enterprise or the free market. We voluntarily approach employers and we sell them something. We sell them our efforts, our labor, and as a result, the deal is they compensate us for that what's reasonable, what we've agreed upon. Valuable consideration, it's often called in contract law. Now, to that effect, we're all in business. Whether we're in business as we would traditionally call business, having a business, or we're employed, or we're the employer, it doesn't matter. I think the reason why we think of it in terms of different concepts is because we have this sort of almost like a spiritual belief, or it's a religious belief actually of legalities. That when we're employee, there's this legislation called workers' legislation, or I don't know what they call it, labor board and this sort of thing, that is somehow different than somebody going out and getting a contract to mow somebody's lawn. But it's not different in terms of, if we strip all of that away, it's the same thing. It's us going out and either going out to the grocery store and buying food, or us going to work at that grocery store. It's just an exchange of value. That's all it is. It's an exchange of value. The biggest difference, I guess, in terms of how we approach it is the variety of customers or suppliers that we engage in. Typically, if we're an employee, if we're working as an employee, we have one customer. One customer is the individual or the group of individuals who are acting as our employer. So this leaves us in a somewhat vulnerable position, especially in times when there's slowdowns and so on, because if our employer decides to shop somewhere else, because after all, they're shopping, right? They're buying a service. They're buying the employment that we have, the work ethic, the work effort that we have. But then if they decide to shop somewhere else, we get laid off. If we're in any other business situation, we don't use the term laid off. That's a legal term. We use a term like, I don't know, somebody just decided to go somewhere else. And we feel vulnerable about it. And of course, with the welfare state, or this legislative religion that we have, there's things called, welfare programs called unemployment insurance or employment insurance, which discourage us from negotiating with the employer for what works for them. Because obviously, if we're getting, in many cases, if we're getting laid off or let go, it's for reasons that may not just be because of the entire arrangement. Maybe that they can't afford it anymore because there's been a slowdown. They can't afford as much. They can't afford as many hours. They can't afford the labor board regulations. So at times we could offer to go back as a contractor, part-time contractor, for less wage, all kinds of different things that we could do that anybody who's got an entrepreneurial spirit or an entrepreneurial way of thinking might consider. Now, I don't know, thinking about this, when we have only one customer and we want to diversify ourselves, just like any investor has a diversified portfolio, we can probably consider having a diversified portfolio of potential employers, so we can continue to upgrade our skills, to upgrade our education, to continue to study, to continue to work on our life skills, our ability to, our people skills, all those sorts of things, and also to build almost like a following of people who are interested in what our skill is. So if our skill is carpentry, we could start something like an online carpentry forum, or a local carpentry forum, or a workshop that teaches people how to do carpentry. And this way, on a part-time basis, that's kind of like a hobby, right? And this way, we diversify, we put the word out there in our community, whether that community be online, whether that community be local, geographically, that here is somebody who really cares about what they do, here is somebody who really is continuing to educate, continuing to put out value, more value, continuously, right? And where we can take cues from this is not so much local geographic businesses, because what I've found with local geographic businesses is that often they get complacent, so they become almost like order takers. If somebody walks in the door, it's like, what can I sell you? You know, as opposed to, what can I really help you with in terms of why it is that you want to buy, or why it is that you came in here. You know, it's not that you want that vacuum cleaner, there's a reason why you want the vacuum cleaner. And so I've seen lots of examples of walking into a local business where I'm just almost seem like a number, and I think that could be improved upon. And the people who do this really well, people who really focus on making sure that there's attention given to detail, are those who are what I would call online marketers. And I think it's because when people are online, there's so much less of the one-on-one interaction, of the real one-on-one interaction. So there has to be more time spent with the message. And of course, not very many people do this well online either, but those who are successful at it do it exceedingly well. I think of an example of, off the top of my head, the Casey Letter. Casey, this is a kind of a think tank. They sell newsletters and financial programs and all kinds of stuff. They really do it well because what they do is anybody who shows interest in their product, they go far and away to give free information, free value. So you go there just looking for information, you're going to get a lot of good information over and over again. And at the bottom of each link, of course, there's an invitation that here's a link you can click on if you want the real stuff, you know, like the real more depth you want to. But at least there's lots of value there from the beginning. But I have run across this before too in the storefront examples. There's two examples I remember where I went and bought some seeds one time because I was planting some alfalfa, and I went to a local feed store, or a local seed store rather, and I was really amazed at the detail that the guy gave me on. He showed a real care that I got those seeds in the ground properly, that I had a very successful crop. It wasn't about just here's a sack of seeds, go plant it. No. And he gave me a book on the details of tending to my crop. He gave me a booklet of all the contacts of where to get more information about fertilizer and when to plant it and what's the optimal way to plant and the optimal way to fertilize. And he invited me to call him any time that I had any questions. He spent probably close to 45 minutes to an hour with me, and I just bought a couple of bags of seed. I was really amazed at this guy, really amazed. And that was just a storefront, you know. Another example was one time I bought a used car, and this was a junker used car. It was, you know, they could have just said goodbye to me. It wasn't even their business selling used junker cars. It was kind of one thing that's sitting away in the back that they would have maybe hauled to the wreckers eventually, but they sold it to me anyway. And it's about 6 months later, I get a call from not the salesperson so much, but the lady who sits at the admin desk or whatever. And she asked me if she got the right number and so on, and she said they found a key for that car. They were cleaning up their office and they found a key with the tag on. They looked up who bought that car, and they called me back for a key, an ignition key. You know, what's the key worth? I don't know, it's not worth a whole lot of money. They could have just thrown it in the garbage. And I was a car dealer at one time. Quite frankly, after 6 months, that's what I would have done with it. I figured this car's probably not even running anymore. It's probably in the junk. But they took the time to call. And I remember when I picked it up because I really wanted to say thank you. I was really impressed because I'm used to just being dealt with as a number, right? But how does this relate to free enterprise and free markets? Well, the success, to me, free enterprise and free markets has to do with relationships. It has to do with how we interact with others. And the better we can interact with others, the more civil we can be, the more kind we can be, the more considerate we can be, the more caring we can be, with the more people that we can do this with, the more we're going to enjoy an improved quality of life. Because, first of all, it's voluntary, right? We're not coercing anybody to do business with us or to employ us or to be hired by us or anything like that, or just to be friends with us. We're just being the best we can be in our interactions and putting out the message. I think it's important to put out the message of what it is that we do in life, what's important to us, especially along the lines of our labor of love, our employment, whether that be traditional business or employment, whatever. The more we can put it out, the more we can learn, continuing to gather more information, the more we can put it out some way in our workplaces, be proactive, like in our workplaces, you know. Some people, they're going to call us snivellers, they're going to call us go-getters, they're going to call us, when I say they, I mean people who maybe are intimidated by that, but that's okay, because in time we're just being ourselves, right? And bottom line, we're better off. And in terms of employment situations, we're never going to be in as much danger as we would have been from layoffs, from slowdowns, and, you know, right-sizing, upsizing, downsizing, all these different terms that go on, because we're going to be the ones who are up there with all kinds of contacts, because we've got what I like to call social capital. Social capital is, you got friends you can turn to, you've got other employers who you know, who see what you do in your place of business or your job place, and as soon as you're laid off, they're going to want you on their team. And it's not about being the smartest individual in the world. It's not about being the most anything. It's just somebody who does their best within the freedom that they have, within the free market and within the free enterprise, proactive enterprise, that I think is what's going to get us the longest way in terms of being successful in our lives, successful in our employments. And ultimately, I would say that creates great relationships, and it certainly improves the quality of our life experience. Hope this has been helpful. Once again, great chat out on the road, and we'll talk again soon. My name is Steve. Bye-bye for now.